Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. We are about 5 minutes out from the end of the Team USA versus Team Canada game. I literally just turned off my TV and ran up to the studio to record this podcast because there is so much to discuss about this game, about the atmosphere, about the vibe surrounding it, about the game itself, the strategy of it, how the game played out in the end. But I have a lot of thoughts on the game before the game even started because for me, coming into this atmosphere that I obviously wasn't in person for, all I could do was witness it through a screen. But that was the most intense, the most high stress, and the most winner take all atmosphere I've seen in a hockey game maybe ever in my entire life, which is so crazy considering this is a round robin. Like these two teams are probably going to play again in the finals. But the reason why it felt so important was not only because of all of the political stuff going on between these two countries at the moment, which I am not going to get into. Politics to me is the ultimate divider, sports is the ultimate uniter. So I'm not going to say anything about those politics other than Canada will never be a state. We are a country. Outside of that, I'm going to shut my mouth. But coming into this game, obviously the politics had a huge part in it. The crowd was booing and buzzing from the word go. I don't know who introduced Team USA. I think it was an Olympian or something like that. But poor her. They just sent her out to the wolves. And I'm sure they told her, hey, expect some booze. But she got hounded. And it was pretty funny to watch considering, how just awestruck she looked by the moment. But this game coming into it, I don't think there were many people who were saying that this isn't going to be an intense atmosphere and it's going to be just like a real NHL All-Star game where they don't really try. But if you were one of those people, you're an idiot and you should never talk hockey again or have a platform to talk hockey about because these guys from the first puck drop, that was the greatest first 5 minutes to a hockey game I've ever seen in my life. I am not exaggerating. I am not trying to make this feel bigger than it was. Kachuk dropping the gloves, and then the other Kachuk dropping the gloves, and then JT Miller dropping the gloves, all within, I want to say, the first 12 seconds of the game. That was the greatest start to a hockey game I've ever seen. When you combine the fact that it was three different fights, and this wasn't like a Canucks Calgary situation from a couple years ago where they knew coming into the game that this was going to happen off the first puck drop. So they send their, goons out there, their third and fourth liners out there as starters so they can all throw down. This wasn't that. This was guys at the opening face-off feeling the intensity, stating, "All right, this is going to be a war. Let's make this a war." And that's exactly what this entire game was the whole night. This was the fastest paced hockey I've seen in a long time. This was the quickest puck movement I've seen in a long time. This was some of the best decision making I've seen in a long time. The best waiting and just like I play hockey and I'm not obviously Connor Bedard, but I'm a pretty decent hockey player for what I do. And obviously, what I can do is watch the TV and see passes and plays that these guys I think should make. During this game, they never made that play. There was always an extra move to be made that they played. It was just hockey at the highest level. And it really made me mad watching it because the NHL deprived us of these kinds of games and atmospheres for 10 years. Like, really? We didn't get Team USA Canada best on best for 10 years? Like, I grew up during the era where we had none of these games. Like, I really feel like a part of my childhood core was just robbed from me because Bettman couldn't figure out how to put on this tournament like, I don't know, 8 years ago. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I loved every freaking second of it. Why didn't we have this like a million years ago. Why didn't like I'm so happy we're getting this every 2 years now, but this should have been the case forever because this hockey was unbelievable. Like cancel the NHL, just have Canada versus US every other night. Like I don't think anyone would really there's be some people upset. But I want to get into some of the actual hockey elements of this because as a general take, this game, coming into this game, we saw that the USA forwards and the Canadian forwards were pretty much a wash. Maybe a slight edge to Canada just off top end talent of, McDavid and McKinnon, whose speed, even in these best on best tournaments, just blasts off the screen. Like they look faster than the other fastest guys. Defense with Makar out, you definitely lean USA, and also we had Theodore out and Petrangelo out. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but those are big pieces out. I understand the US didn't have Hughes, but it's 1-3. Defense, you probably lean slightly USA, but it's close. The big discernible difference when you looked at these two rosters was in net, and unfortunately, that disadvantage reared its ugly head for Canada today. Jordan Bennington, when there's a scramble in front of his net, when there is a loose puck, when there's people banging at it, there is probably no other goalie in the world that I want. However, when it comes to shots off the rush, when it comes to cross creases, when it comes to the skilled plays, the skilled goals that are going to be scored in this best on best tournament, he's the worst goalie in the tournament. And the first goal that he allowed was just atrocious. It was a good shot by Getzel. I understand that that spot underneath the skate 5 hole is a really, really popular spot to shoot nowadays. But he didn't pick his spot very well. Like it was a lot more inside than I think he wanted it. Bennington has to make that save. He just has to. That was a really, really bad goal. And listen, Larkin's second goal was a perfect shot. There's no doubt about that. But even a perfect shot off wing on a rush, like it's the goalie's job on a 2-on-1 to play the shot. Like if that puck gets across, there's like I would not say a word about Bennington. But on a 2-on-1, you stop the shooter and he didn't. Um and that was all it took. The US flatly locked Canada down in the third and second period. And obviously, Connor Hellebuck was a huge part of that. I thought he was unbelievable tonight. And a lot of the US defense was. But another thing that really came up in this game was Canada's lack of physicalness and forechecking. I think Tom Wilson's absence was obviously missed. I think two Capitals absences were big time misses in this game. Tom Wilson and Logan Thompson, who's should be Canada's starting goalie right now, and he's having an unbelievable season. I also don't know why Brad Marchand wasn't used as much as some other guys were. I think he had something like, I don't know, 12, 13 minutes of ice time. I could be wrong about that. I don't have it in front of me. Don't quote me on that, but didn't feel like enough. And I thought early in the game that Canada was clearly coaching their defense to jump into the play, which I have no problem with. It's what most of the best coaches do if they are able to do it effectively. And John Cooper is obviously the best coach in the NHL right now, still. Definitely in that top three. So I have no issue with it. But you worry when the other team has speed like the US does, or any of these teams have really in these best on best tournaments, that they're going to be able to capitalize on those chances and turn them into 2-on-1s if the defense can get caught. And that's exactly what happened on that Larkin play. So I'm into defense jumping into the play, but clearly that is John Cooper's main point of focus with his offensive hockey philosophy with this team. And it bit him. It bit him bad, and it bit him for the game winning goal. Um, I've got a bunch of people texting me their opinions. Someone says that loss is all Drew Doughty's fault. It's a Kings fan of mine. Another person texted me that John Tavares and Mark Scheifele should be on this team, and it's hard to disagree. But like I said, if it were to come down to one thing, it was America's goaltending and defense were better than Canada's. And that is what we thought was going to happen coming into the tournament. Like a lot of pre-tournament, pre-game discussion in all sports is pretty irrelevant, or it can be, unless you get people who know what they're talking about. And everyone who knew what they're talking about said, this is going to be a problem. Bennington hasn't been really good since what, 2019 was when the Blues won that cup. That's a long time ago, over half a decade. And he was bad in the World Championships last time he represented Canada, and he wasn't good today. It's also seemed like in the third, Canada is the best skating team in the tournament. They're, in my opinion, the best passing team, best offensive team, period, in the tournament. In the third, Rick Tocchet, who just continues to be the bane of my existence when it comes to his style of hockey. It seems like they just went to that dump and chase style, which drove me nuts, especially in the last 8 minutes when they needed something to go, which I understand. You want as much sustained offensive zone time as possible when you're down a goal. You want as many chances to knock in rebounds. Totally get that. This isn't the Vancouver Canucks in September, though. This is Team Canada. The one goal that we had was McDavid on a rush. And a big chunk of the goals against Sweden, I think 3 of them were off the rush. It seemed like Canada got away from what makes them so good, which is their skill and speed and passing, not necessarily their physicality and forechecking. Now, these two teams are in all likelihood going to play again, although apparently Finland's a bit better of a team than I thought they would be coming into this tournament. They knocked off Sweden earlier today. So Canada's going to have to beat Finland to get to the finals to play the US again. I anticipate they'll do that. But if they do, and they get Cale Makar back, I would take Canada in game 3. No, not game 3. Game the finals. The gold medal game. I'd take them. Like, even with everything I said about Canada's goaltending being garbage and the US's defense playing great, and us getting away from the system that I think gives us the best chance to win offensively, which is passing the puck in the neutral zone instead of dumping it in. You know how much I love the deserve to win-o-meter, which basically takes in your quality of shots, your shot attempts, your amount of offensive zone time, and puts it into this formula. And is basically, if you played out this game 100 times, how many times would you win it? Well, Canada, out of 100 times, according to this stats, which is courtesy of, I don't want to credit anything wrong here. Credit to Money Puck. Canada wins 71 out of 100 times this game. Bounces didn't go the way. Hellebuck got in a groove. And when Hellebuck's in a groove, it's just, he's the best in the world. But still, like I said, 71% of the time, Canada gets this game. So add Makar to that roster. Hughes is not coming back for the U.S. And I think it's a coin flip game, and the U.S. just won one of the coin flips, so you'd think Canada gets the second one. That's not the best analysis, but it's how I feel. Thank you all so much for watching, as always. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. Am I crazy? What were your thoughts about the game? Do you think Canada has a chance if they play the U.S. again in the finals? Let me know. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed the Spit Sports Show. Just to get to 400 subscribers. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.